they love personally and professionally. That's a beautiful bio. My gosh. Thank you, Michele, for that. And by the way, she is going to be selling books in the garden room afterwards. So if you like what Michele has to say, just jump out there afterwards and grab a couple, maybe great gifts for birthdays and whatever for spiritual people. So help me welcome Michele Ray.
Thank you, Jay. What a lovely introduction. I echo the bravery and courage that you all have of being here. I really appreciate the opportunity to engage with like-minded community members. So we'll have a bit of a dialogue today. I'm going to tell you a few things about my reflections on Be Here Now, which Gary has told me is the theme for the month. And there are a few quotes I'll take from my book. It's a book about living from the center within, as all of us here getting up this early on a Sunday morning are committed to. So I look forward to hearing about what that looks like for you, what some of your experiences are in that inner chamber, right, that center within. It's kind of more than an amazing time, right? An opportunity and a crisis all at once to be on the planet. Many of us, everyday mystics, I'll put you in that category, have felt like there's an impending time for transformation coming. We didn't know what it would look like exactly. I don't know if you thought it would look like this. I didn't. But it's here. And we are open to new ways of doing things in a way that we have not been open to, at least in my lifetime. So when I look into the intuitive side of what's occurring, it feels like change. We all know the change happens on a spiral. There's this whole theory of spiral dynamics. And we move and we move and we move and we integrate. And then something happens in your life where on the other side of it, you're not the same as you were. Right? And in a little bit, I'm going to ask you to share with another person some of those stories, those points of transformation where we just go, wow, I'm around the whip of the end of that trajectory, and now I'm going to land at another level of the trajectory. And, God willing, there'll be a little integration time. I don't know about you guys, but right now I feel like the integration time is between the breath. And that's about it, right? You take a breath in and oh my goodness, and you pause and you take a breath out and something else shifts. So we're getting more nimble in our transformations. So transformation is an interesting time. And this is how I describe it in this book. Why during times of rapid growth, such as extraordinary leap in human development occurring now, can it feel so disorientating? The transformational process is one of major change, which can feel stressful. When nature reaches a limitation, it innovates and transforms, evolving towards higher consciousness and more freedom. Since the beginning of life nearly 4 billion years ago, on this planet, there has been a continuous movement towards complexity, connectivity, and higher awareness. Right? So depending on where you are, when we reach that limitation and we evolve, it can seem like an ending or a beginning, depending on your perspective. I go on in the book to use the example of a baby being born. Like, can you imagine what your first person experience is inside the womb? Like, holy buckets, everything you've ever known is about to, you're not even sure what. There's pressure, there's movement, right? And all of a sudden, this baby is born into a totally different level of existence, different functioning, different rules, different ways of being fed, different ways of breathing. And and it's fresh, and it's dependent, and it needs other people. So the invitation from me to you today is that we look at this time in transformation, this transformative period in history, And we look at it from the birth, being born side versus the fear and crisis of all the deconstruction and the crumbling and holy crap, it's never going to be the same again. That's right. It's not. We're going to come out the other side and it's going to look different and it's going to be unfamiliar. And guess what? We are the ones building the community on the other side of this shift, right? So being in fear, being paralyzed, being anxious, not sleeping, it's not useful right now. Do it as much as you need to. Process, don't stuff, don't avoid, don't cling. And we need to find each other on the other side of this. So I took a stab at some of these old era, new era kinds of qualities, I call them. So there's a chart here. But this is the old era, right? We're familiar with this. Whoops. Oh dear, sorry. Thank you. But you can see, like we're coming out of a time of scarcity, separation, polarity, right? And we're moving into a time that's much more interconnected, mutually accountable, sustainable. We don't know the details. You and I are creating the details. So whatever it is that your service is in the world, if you're a teacher, you're a gardener, you're a celloist, right? Take it to your work in the world, your service in the world, the way you are a son or a daughter or a mother or a lover or a parent, right? All the choices we make, we want to make with our attention and intention as we move into this new era. What we can do is live mindfully. We can manage our attention, we can choose our intention, and we can direct our awareness. This is something we all have the ability to do, and it's something we can learn, something we can do more and more of if we commit to our spiritual practice. So the invitation today is to live mindfully, to have your attention, awareness, and intention in this here and now. So a takeaway for you may be, I had a client this past week, I do coaching, one-on-one coaching, in addition to working with groups. And she said, I'm so aware that my anxiety is off the charts. And we discussed that her anxiety is not about what's happening in the present moment. It's about what could happen or ruminating about what did happen that she wished would have gone differently. And she said, I'm starting to be aware of how much suffering I'm causing myself with my inability to choose to live mindfully in the present moment, right? And so her takeaway, because in coaching, we always have homework that comes. Her takeaway for herself was to buy a beautiful journal. And the only thing she was going to write in it for 14 days was things that she was giving her attention and awareness to that didn't actually exist. So that's our ask. So more on mindfulness. It's a human capacity to be focused, self-aware, tuned in, and without judgment. When you catch yourself ruminating, or you catch yourself judging, or you catch yourself in fear, unsubstantiated by the current circumstance, be kind to yourself. Self-love, the capacity to be in self-love, is numero uno right now. What you do for self-care, for your body, right? Move your body, stretch. Be mindful when you put food in. Thank the plants and the seeds and the farmers and the truckers, right? And the grocery store person. Because that food is becoming you, and your job is to honor it by your choices, right? It's literally transforming into your cells. So we want to be careful about being too judgmental. It's not useful. So let's take a minute to practice some mindfulness. Just get centered, wiggle around a little bit. If you're interested, you can close your eyes. soft gaze. And take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And let that life, that breath, that spirit fill you. And as you breathe in and breathe out, direct your awareness and your attention into this now moment. Do you have a taste in your mouth? My lovely green tea is still lingering. When you breathe in, is there a smell? What are you hearing as you direct your attention into this now moment? Your own heartbeat, a fan. What are you feeling? The warmth of your clothes on your body. And what are you seeing? If your eyes are open, what are you noticing? If your eyes are closed, what are you seeing in your mind's eye? Maybe it's no thing. Maybe it's something. Opening our heart to that sensation of gratitude for this gift you have given yourself right now, in this moment, to be here now. That sensation of gratitude brings coherence and resonance to your body. Your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, your etheric body. And so we'll take one more breath in and one more breath out together. And when you're ready, stretch a bit. And reopen your eyes and come all the way back. It's a practice that you can offer yourself many times throughout the day. My friend Susie over here gave us a little eucalyptus shower ball. You know, you put in your shower. So this morning I practiced this in the shower. What do I feel? What do I smell? What do I see? What do I hear? And it will immediately redirect your attention into the present moment. So it's a practice, one of many. So I want to talk about being in the be here now that's beyond our five senses. How many of you have had experiences of intuition or synchronicity or things that don't seem to be just with the five senses? Great. So I'm going to invite us today to consider, as this new era is ushering in, and we are the everyday mystics, to spend time in our body, physical body, mental, emotional body, also have some of that same awareness and attention be in our non-physical body, in our interconnected and our infinite bodies. So here's how you can tell what part of the be here now map. This is a map of consciousness that you're in. In this moment, if you are primarily dealing with healing your holes, in any moment, if you're triggered, you're irritated, right? You're working on your woundedness. You're likely at a level of consciousness of individual. Interconnected, you have that sense of wholeness. Even though there might be crazy ass shit happening, there might be really bad stuff happening. I don't know where that came from. I'm in church, for heaven's sakes. Sorry. Happening in the world, your identity is with your wholeness, right? You have a sense of peace. You have a sense of interconnectedness. You know that the The heart in me, the light in me salutes the light in you. I can see it in you. No matter what behavior is being displayed, and infinite is that place where we fall open further to knowing ourselves in the here and now, where we are in that unity consciousness. It's a place where you forget about time and space. It could be gardening or running or making love, right? Where you just, the end of you and the beginning of the world, there isn't so much. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of these. And the invitation, again, is to live mindfully from your center within. So if you're in this condition at any given moment of healing our wholes and identified primarily with your individual self, fabulous. Guess what? Wherever you are, that was a Thich Nhat Hanh, wherever you go, there you are, you know? So sometimes when we get really stuck and we're really triggered and we're really focused on healing our wholes, this is our condition. Be with it. Be in the here and now. Love yourself up. We're human. We're figuring it out. We're having experiences. But there is this multi-dimensional part of being human that we want to really tap into. And in this condition, we become whole. We notice synchronicity. Almost everyone in this room raised their hand to say, yeah, I have some of those experiences. And they're pretty cool. So celebrate these times. What we focus on grows, and you'll spend time in this condition. Spend more and more time in this condition of the here and now. And as you can see, the individual doesn't go anywhere. We just expand also to include this interconnected realm of us. We live here. And we can work with our attention, intention, and awareness to have some of it be accessible in this realm. It's always occurring. The only question is if you have the capacity, right, to access it. And that's the invitation today, is to engage in practices and ways of living where you cultivate your ability to perceive at this level continuously. Okay? So here's a few examples of the clairs, right, that you may engage in. This clear seeing where you can shut your eyes and you can imagine, you can see in another space, another time. Clear knowing. You walk through the day and that person comes to your mind and you're not sure why, you haven't talked to them in a few months, and they come again, and then the hawk is sitting on the light post and you're like, oh, for heaven's sakes, I'm going to give him a call. And sure enough, the most amazing thing happened that day that they wanted to share with you, right? That's this knowing. Clairsentient is a feeling. It's a kinesthetic feeling. Like I don't know about you guys, but since I was forever a small child, I felt different in my body when I was in my favorite place in nature than I feel at the Mall of America, right? You just feel it. You can feel. And so again, we can cultivate our awareness to notice it more often. And the clairaudience is a hearing. And my daughter called me the other day and she said, I had a dream and there was a smell in it from a person. And she's like, I've never had a smell in my dream before. Which Claire is that again? It's not listed here, but it has a name. So I'm going to read you a story from this book, and then I'm going to ask you to find another person and share a bit about your experiences in the interconnected, okay? I smile as I recall my daughter calling from college in California years later to ask for assistance. Before that, I lost my wedding ring, and I was desperate to find it, and I found it in the bottom of a garbage can. And I couldn't, logically find it, so I desperately resorted to my intuition. So it's been kind of commonplace. She had lost her access card, which tracked her meal plan and was used to get in and out of buildings on campus. A picture emerged in my mind with her request to help find it. I saw her using her access card as a bookmark, and it had slid into the pages of the book. As she walked around her apartment telling me about her English class lecture that day and the party the night before with her friends, I could hear the book pages fanning in the background. Eventually, the access card dropped out of one. She thanked me and continued sharing her stories. I smiled with a grateful heart, knowing my children find intuition an ordinary and reliable way of knowing. It's very practical. This is not woo-woo stuff. And I believe that in these generations, this generation, I don't know about you guys and your interaction with small children, their access, off the charts from mine. They're coming in wired differently. Their systems are different, right? We're in this transformative period of time. And what I'm seeing with the kids is they're looking for us that they can come and say, I had this really cool story. I don't know, I was driving home with Lydia from dinner the other night. And when Kendra called, I was driving, put her on speaker. And Lydia and I are just laughing about, right? It's a smell and a dream. And just called to say that. And multiple dimensions and non-local and wild, crazy. It's life. It's fun to share it. They're looking for, people are looking to come to you and tell their stories, right? Because when people come to me, one of the reasons they come is that they tell a story to someone, and that person says, you should go talk to Michele. She thinks those things are normal. And I light up. Of course I do. So I'd like you to share some of your non-local, Claire, very normal experiences with each other. What were they? How did they change your life? And how do you cultivate them? How do you cultivate your attention and intention so that you notice them more and more? Okay? So find another person, at least one, groups of 2 or 3. Interesting. Did you learn something from someone? Can't see you all, and I'm too short to be down there. Any questions? Comments? We'll continue. Just raise your hand if there's any as we go. All right. So this being holy is a pretty cool condition when it's in the be here and now. It's this amazing place of feeling like you're at total peace and that every possibility could arise in your awareness and you're as curious as the next person about what it's going to be. No? So now when I, for instance, look for work or imagine being of service in the world, primarily owning my own business and doing a variety of things that are in alignment with my mission, which is supporting the shift that humanity's about, individually or collectively. And one day last month, I had an invitation through my friend Susie with the new paper that's here local called the Southwest Connect. Just got started up by this amazing woman, Tasha. Called to say to see if I'd be interested or she'd be interested in me in writing a holistic integrative health column. I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach and a pharmacist, and I teach at the U in their health coaching program. So it's one avenue. Healthcare is moving from whatever, body totally separate from everything else, and I'm sure many of you, like me, are into quantum healing and, neuro resetting and, amazing stuff we're learning about the mind and body. So every system on the planet is in charge, is changing. Politics, education, you name it. And so this idea of being in service for me now is speaking my truth, finding community, building my own capacity, and then seeing what arises that's in alignment, right? It's not so specific. It's not like I'm writing a 5-year plan anymore, that I already have it figured out and then I'm not open to all the magic, right? That's living here in this space. So there's this force that we can connect into that's throughout humanity. That's happening all the time. I don't know about any of you, but I'm fascinated studying about neutrinos, these tiny little particles that flow through the planet, right? That carry who knows what. I had a whole conversation with a whale. Ruben and I were down in Cabo, and I was doing my Qigong on the beach and wanting to merge consciousness and awareness with the neutrinos so they could teach me about them and what they do and how they work on the planet. And this humpback whale, no kidding, 100 yards off the shore, rose up, freaked me out. It's like, hello, neutrinos are talking to each other. Seriously. Go to my blog. It's from March of a couple years ago, if you're interested in the story. So anyway, I did my thing and honored and stood there for a few minutes, cried. I was so touched and gone. So I move and I start walking back to the beach, and this mama and the baby in front of her, between the two of us, for 20 minutes stayed with me till we got back to the resort. And by that time, 100 people were on the beach. They stayed for another half hour. Fascinating, right? Neutrinos. So we're always learning. We're always learning. And the thing is that all these are happening at the same time, right? So think about your lung, for instance. And you can imagine your lung and how it functions and the beautiful conditioning that what it offers to your body. And then take a microscope in your mind's eye and turn it down one more level, right? And think about how these go. So you have a lung, it goes to a cell. And the cell itself is its own functioning, right? It has its own properties and principles. If you take the microscope and you go down one more level, you'll see the cell wall, the ribosomes, the mitochondria, right? All the different parts of it. And you can look at one of those. And if you find that mitochondria and you go down one level further, it's a molecule, then an atom, right? Then the quarks and the sporks and the quantum leptons, and right? And they all exist at the same time in a different level. And they have different functions, different systems. And that's what we're talking about here, is can you have some of your be here now be in all of the levels? And then we can go the macro level, right, from the lung. You can go out further and it's the whole body. Go out further and it's the body of humanity, the planet, the solar system, the galaxy, right? The multi-omniverses. I had an experience. There's a gentleman in town named Eric Christopher who does past life regression and a variety of things. And I'm always playing, I don't know, maybe like you guys. And I had this session with him, and I found myself in my own guided meditation in a lifetime with a man around the turn of the century in the U.S. And I ended up in this circle after he died, and I was sitting in the circle, and he was in the circle, and there were these two beings that looked kind of extraterrestrial in this circle, and some other human beings from other periods of time. And I was just sitting with it, doing what we do in our guided meditation, practicing being in all these multiple dimensions of reality at once. And it occurred to me that all of the people in that circle, in my mind's eye, in my clairs, were me in simultaneous lifetimes. And we were sitting around this circle, sharing the wisdom that we had gained in being in other times and dimensions during a huge transformation. It was like mind-blowing. It took me several weeks to even, but I'm just offering some of my own examples, and that was just recently, last summer, of continue playing, be curious, see how you can have more and more access. So we did this already. This is the next question. What kinds of things do you do that cultivate your ability to perceive these subtle energies? Anyone? We'll just kind of do a little popcorn. What are some of the ways, what are practices that you do that open you to more of these interconnected ways of being? Meditation. Reiki, Qigong. Higher brain activation. Journaling, powerful, yes. I know there was drumming this morning here. It's another powerful walking in nature. Absolutely, you can just kind of feel that interconnection. It resets us. Say it again. Same, nature. And dance. Yeah, movement. Music. I mean, the research, I just read, Tom Kenyon is a musician who brings in different sounds, and I just watched a documentary on him. He had a he had a journey to the center of the earth. And the center of the earth said, she is changing her song. And will he sing the song of the new earth on the surface? And his response was, I'll think about it. It's like, you know what? I've spent my whole life getting this PhD in psychiatry and doing all this really amazing in the world stuff. And you want me to do what? So he's traveling around the planet singing like the songs of the whales, the songs of, it's extraterrestrials. So we don't know what it's going to look like. But if we say yes, after we negotiate, So here's a list from the book. Breath work, meditation, music, silence, aromatherapy, mindful eating, feng shui, guided imagery, art, biofeedback, progressive relaxation, nature, reflection, ritual, dialogue, dreams, storytelling. So again, no matter which condition you find yourself in, if you're completely triggered and, in a panic attack, a practice can be useful to bring you back to center, to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, right? If you're in that interconnected realm and you can smell the eucalyptus in the shower and taste the warm water, right? And then you open deeper into practice. How many of you have great ideas in the shower? Right? And that's because you're already there. You're already in that interconnected state. And then you open up to the non-physical realms of yourself and it drops in, right? Drops in. You can notice it. So that's our invitation today, is to continue to notice, to continue to live more and more from that center within so that we can open more deeply to what's already occurring that we may or may not have access to. So we want to do this practice. We really want to be able, and the mystics have taught us all along that the secret, one of the secrets to accessing this center within is to live in the here and now. So here's one way that it that describes this condition from a mystic. Part of this is from Deepak Chopra's How to Know God. If any of you have read that book, it's old now. But it was one of those things that I could share in the story we did earlier about transformational. Reading that, I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, two impossible things must converge. We are reduced to the merest speck, a speck of identity closing the last minuscule gap between ourselves and God. Here we have realized our center within. At the same time, just when separation is healed, a tiny point expands to infinity. The mystics describe this as the one becomes the all. To put it into quantum physics scientific terms, we crossed into the quantum zone. Space-time collapses into itself. The tiniest thing in existence merges with the greatest, and the point and the infinity are equal. Right? We all have access to that. It's our birthright. We're going to do a little meditation here. The books are available if you're interested after. I'm going to read a poem, and then we're going to do a little meditation here to close out our time together. This one is called Now is the Time. It's by Hafi, part of Rumi's era. But this is the invitation to us. Now is the time to know that all that you do is sacred. Now why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when we can finally live with veracity and love. Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. Now is the time for you to compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do and are is sacred. We've been having that message for centuries. We continue our practice. So let's just take a few minutes. I think we have until 20 after, is that right? To just take a few minutes and let's in this collective experience, open up. Center and balance our individual self, open to the interconnected self, and invite the flow, a shared awareness in the infinite self, okay? So once again, wiggle around, find your breath. If you're interested in closing your eyes, and feel the energy from the earth rising to support you. She is singing a new song, supporting us as we transition into this new era. Connect with Mother Earth and allow her nourishment to nourish you. Attune to her energy. And as that energy flows up and in and as and through you, also notice the energy that comes in through the top of your head. Pure light, pure love, pure undifferentiated spirit. Flowing through you, all the multidimensional aspects of you. Also nourishing you, feeding you, just like light through the leaves on a tree. And as it flows in and through you, you, personally, your body, this miraculous vessel, is an opportunity for heaven on earth. Open to receiving and allow your physical, mental, emotional, etheric, quantum, soul, all the levels of you, to find the harmonics. Receive this transmission that's in full alignment with the light in your plasma, in your cells. We recommit in this moment to our own evolution, our own willingness to contribute positively as humanity and the planet transforms. So as we receive this transmission, we soften our attention away from just our infinite self and connect heart to heart in this sacred circle we've created today. Each chosen, each responding yes to be here. And as we open to that heart-centered, unconditional, positive regard for one another, the energy frequency increases. We are supported in community, and our capacity expands. Breathing in and breathing out, we blossom just like a flower, supported by light and water and community. We become more fully who we are. We are grateful for this opportunity for the acceleration and amplification of our own growth and development. Breathing in and breathing out, we trust the full integration of our energetic experience here today as we move about the planet in our daily lives as an everyday mystic. So filled with gratitude and open and curious and willing to live our optimal life, we once again find our breath as the collective breath will continue to breathe with us and through us and as us. And take in one deep cleansing breath in and out. And when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and toes and stretch a bit. We are indeed the ones we've been waiting for. So what is the now and here? The here and now? Nowhere, now here, same word. It's today. So we'll invite you to stay in touch. I'm going to hang around if anyone wants to chat for a bit. I think we've got some announcements and then we'll do a closing circle. I'm so impressed with how big our circle is in the morning on a cold day. So we'll find our breath. Connect to Mother Earth and the energy flowing in and up and as and through us. We have been blessed today in a way beyond what we can imagine. Feel the energy flowing around this circle from heart to heart through our hands, creating a current of love, of life. In this group today, we are the everyday mystics that are open to the new emerging possibilities for humanity. We rest in gratitude, trusting the process, and knowing that our commitment to our practice and to each other in community will carry us through this transition time in transformation to a transfigured humanity. We are ready, we say yes, and we will contribute positively with the support of each other and encouragement to who we are becoming individually and collectively. So we'll take in and feel in our bodies, our hearts, that offering that each one of us is adding to this flow, this current of love. Once again, bring your attention to your breath. Allow for the integration of this transmission throughout your day. We reaffirm our connection to the planet, to Mother Earth, and to the unseen, non-local aspects of ourselves and the beings and guides who support us. Thank you all for contributing and being a blessing here today. We will carry a piece of each other with us from this moment on. So in gratitude, I invite you to put your hands over your heart. And as we silently bow to one another, the light in me salutes the light in you. Namaste. Thank you.